Ready to go. Good morning, Miss Nancy. How are you?
I'm wonderful, Char. I'm just feeling great talking with you this morning. How are you?
I'm doing great. I love, love, love your beautiful smile.
Oh, you're so warm. Thank you.
So welcome, everyone. Welcome to Chit Chat with Char. Our mission and our main focus is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate. Today, we have Miss Nancy St. Jacobs with us from Truist Bank. She is the VP of Community Business Development. So without further ado, I'd love for you to share with us what you do, how you've got here, and just all the great things. We have so many wonderful conversations. So I'm glad to share with our audience and our listeners.
Thank you, Char. I'm just excited to be here, as I mentioned before, because this is a platform that I think helps to serve our community in a broader perspective.
Yes,
And I wanted to just let folks know that what I do for them and small business owners to empower them. Because I think that once you empower someone to do all that's within them and their scope of expertise in their industry,
yes,
the sky's the limit.
that's right.
So I started in banking in 1992, and I watched a lot of things, and I was blessed to be able to sit in many chairs, wear different hats, and I learned a lot. I gleaned from others, and I continued to move along the trajectory of going toward this position that I'm in now.
Mhm.
Along the way, I learned where it was necessary to provide information to those who were marginalized at times, who weren't always given the right information or even be privy to the information that would help them.
Right,
And along the way, I saw how that would impact people, impact
right,
their growth, stunt their growth, and their businesses were not as successful as someone else's because they didn't have the same tools or resources.
got it.
In 2014, I was privileged to come and work for BB&T, now Truist. And Truist is very serious about allowing me to do all that I can to empower communities of color. So I like to emphasize the fact that it takes an ecosystem to make this thing work. It isn't just me alone, but I partner with others in the community
Yes,
to help business owners succeed. And I enjoy doing that because it's been a ride. I've met some wonderful people and I love what I do.
that's awesome. What an amazing journey. Did you know when you got into banking that this is where you would end up, or did it just kind of find you?
You know, Shar, that is something I think about all the time. Along the way, I never knew that I would land where I am. And it's interesting that you ask that because when I was an assistant manager in a branch back in 1995, we didn't do business banking in the branches. We had a completely different arm of the bank that was called Western Bank.
Hmm.
And Western Bank would do all of the business side for Washington Mutual Bank, if you remember
I
them.
remember
That's
Washington
where
Mutual.
I cut my teeth in banking at WAMU in Seattle. So we had a completely different arm of the bank that did all business, but somehow my heart would always resonate toward helping business owners. That's when my blood would really flow. And
Hmm.
I felt like myself, I don't understand where that started, within me because I didn't have a business. I'd never run a business, but it excited me. And that was where I got my first step into the business side of things. But along the way, I was being molded and trained in doing what I do today at a
Hmm.
different institution because of the location where I was. It was primarily a Black and Indigenous people of color community.
Okay.
They needed a lot of help. They didn't understand what it took to run a business, how to operate it efficiently, or even how to start a business. They
Right.
had a dream, they had the skills, they had all the talent, but sometimes that might have been lacking in capital to grow that business or even
Right.
start it, funding things, or how to register that business or understand tax implications. So, in doing that, I learned so much about what happens in the real world, not just where
Right,
things are done right and
right.
well, and the money is there, and you have private investors, and you have family money or money you've saved. That is not the case for every community.
That's
And in
true.
that particular neighborhood, I learned so much about what was needed.
Hmm.
And as God would have it, I was asked to come here. And the job that I started with at this bank was not exactly this, but because I had been doing that, as you and I both know, this is how life goes. When
Yes,
you are doing it, it somehow flows into being where you were intended to be. And I
exactly.
absolutely love, love what I do and the people I am able to help.
I can feel the passion just, flowing through the screen as you talk about how you help people and what you do and what it means to
Yeah.
you. I can really feel that passion. And that is, I think, what carries us. That is what gets us going. Like you said, it's what boils our blood and just
Yeah.
makes us happy. And I mean, you can tell you
Yeah.
shine bright as you're communicating about this. So that's awesome. So BB&T recently changed their name and platform. Tell us just a little bit about that, because I think
Yeah.
most people are familiar with BB&T.
Yeah. It's a great story. Our CEO and the CEO of SunTrust Bank had always been friends. And they talked about merging the two banks for a long time. And they decided, let's make this a reality. So it wasn't quick. It was a long process, which you could understand
Yeah.
why. And
Yes.
it had to go through several channels, legally, marketing wise, and just strategic operations, right?
Right.
So once all of those pieces were put into place about 2.5 years ago, here we are because both BB&T and SunTrust, both East Coast banks,
Hmm.
brought something unique to the table.
Okay.
And together we are a powerhouse, $447 billion in assets. All of
Nice.
the, yes, all of the tools and resources for consumer banking, wealth banking, insurance, business banking, commercial, middle market, you name it, we do it, full service bank. And I'm very proud of what we've been able to accomplish. So overall, we have 9 more days until we start the complete merger for the BB&T side of things.
How
And we will then
exciting.
be fully Truist. I am so
Nice.
excited. Yes, it's work, but it's so worth it because we'll be able to serve our clients in a broader perspective and with so much more in the way of online resources and within the branches. So I'm very excited to share that with clients who I get to interface with on a daily basis.
That is awesome. So how many locations do we have here in the DFW area?
We have 52 locations here in DFW.
Okay.
From Arlington and Fort Worth. We have quite a few branches there. We
Okay.
have branches in Collin County, Denton County, Dallas County, and Tarrant County.
Wow. Okay, that's awesome. So
Yeah.
let's kind of pivot just a little bit. Um let's talk about some of the workshops and resources that you have for small business owners, for someone who's trying to break into, their business but lack the capital or even the knowledge or insight to get started.
Yeah. So great question. And thank you for that because that's important for me. As you know, Char, you can't start a business without capital.
That's right.
So, in order to help folks, I have partnered with other entities in the Metroplex, such as SCORE, which is the Service Corps of Retired Executives. I partner with them to do workshops to empower folks to understand that once you have the education, once you have that capital, then you're empowered to get out there and start the business. I
Yeah.
partner also with the small business development centers, with the local chambers,
Okay.
and we've even been able to do these workshops virtually. I
Nice.
partner also with the Jewish Family Service Center because they also help business owners. I partner with entities such as Impact Ventures, because
Okay.
they help with accelerators.
Okay.
And even with women, directed directly to women, we have Wings. And I've served as a mentor and a judge on their panels, and to speak to them about how to start a business, how to get capital for the business,
Mhm.
what documents are necessary, and to have a coach. It is so important to have a coach.
Yes.
So those things are most important, but foundational is to just have someone who's a mentor for a
Yeah.
business owner at whatever stage you're in. It doesn't matter if you're a startup or if you're in that season stage of where you are soon to retire. You still need a coach, someone who will advise you, such as myself and people
Right.
like me, to help you understand what does it take to segue out of your business and what would you do with it. Most folks will tell me sometimes, I ask, well, what are your retirement plans? And they'll say, oh, I'm just going to sell my business. And I have to help them to think, but what if it doesn't sell? Or what if no one sees your business for what you see it for in value? So
Right.
let's get someone in here to evaluate your business and put a value on it because it does mean something. So
Mhm.
everything from helping them register a business to exiting that business.
Yeah.
As a business consultant, I help them. And I'm very proud and happy to say that my division, my role at BB&T, now Truist,
Mhm.
is relegated toward helping people of color to better understand that because, again, that's been a community that has not been privy to that information. It's been marginalized, unbanked, or underbanked in most circumstances.
Right. So, what do you think? I know it's a long line, and this may be a conversation for another topic, but what do you think um, really stems from the lack of education, the underbanking? What do you think that comes from? Where do you think that all stemmed from? What's
Mhm.
the root cause?
Sometimes, Char, I think it's more connectivity when you
Okay.
don't know what's out there, some that's available for you in the way of workshops or material, any way of educating you or understanding if there are grants available
Right.
that you can apply for, or
Mhm.
even those organizations that support small businesses. Sometimes folks are missing it because they're not connected.
Yes.
So ecosystem is very important. Having a coach, again, is extremely important
Mhm.
because those people know what's available for small businesses, or I say small commercial as well. And those are two different types of businesses because that small commercial are those whose revenue is more than 100,000 a year.
Okay.
When you are a solo operator, I call them solopreneurs,
Mhm.
and you're not connected to like the DEC, the
Yeah.
Dallas Entrepreneur Centers,
Mhm.
or the Small Business Development Centers, or SCORE, or
Mhm.
Impact Ventures, or any of the others, you're not operating at your fullest capacity
Gotcha.
because you don't know all of the resources. So,
Right.
not being a part of something, operating as though you're doing a hobby or operating as though it's a side gig and
Yeah.
not a true business,
Mhm.
that's when you're missing all of the resources that could be available for you, that are
So
available.
how do we, I mean, I know that this platform, that's solely what we're focused on is connecting, collaborating and cultivating meaningful relationships. So that's what this platform is with Chit Chat with Char. So other than a platform like this, how do we help to get the word out? Because I think that's what the issue is. How if people are not connected,
Mhm,
and how do we expose them to this information, to this money, um, to this education if they're not connected? What are
mhm,
some other ways that we can do that and get out in the community to
mhm.
really do that?
I have seen where it's effective in when we advertise. If I know it, right? I might not be the person who's putting on a workshop or sponsoring this grant or sponsorship dollars that are available
Mhm.
for business owners. I might not be the one to have that, but I'm going to tell everyone in my circle, everyone within my circle of influence, I am going to share it,
Yes.
even to churches, to
Yes.
community groups, at the library where people go in to get information
Yes.
about their own business. So when we do that, we touch everyone that we can, each one of us who has that information, we pass it around. As I'll tell you, for instance, I have a friend who runs the state fair. And they also have things that lead up to that for the community. They take
Yes.
advantage of it during the fair time. When she sends it to me, I send it to everyone within the BB&T, now Truist, footprint.
Okay.
Everyone here will know. I empower each of them to say, pass this on.
Yes.
And we continue to do that. So I think each one has a responsibility to make known this information because it's vital.
Right.
It's important. It's important, and it lands on each of our desks, I say, our virtual desks.
Yes.
It lands on all of us to make this information available to everyone and make sure that everyone knows about it. So part of what I like to emphasize is when you know it, don't hold it to yourself.
We have a
Don't be
responsibility.
you have a responsibility. You're exactly right. Because once the information just lands with you, and you later find out that someone needed that, and the worst thing you can say is, oh, I knew about that. We had something similar that could have helped you. Really? And you didn't pass it on?
Yeah.
So that would make you feel really bad, right?
Yeah.
I don't ever want to feel that way because number one, it's part of my job. But even before I was here and it was my job, I felt good about helping other people have that information. And I
Right.
tell everyone, yeah.
Right. And I think that's what happens. Sometimes we don't share information unless someone is asking us
Mm-hmm.
the information.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we have to all get in the habit of if we know something, we have to share it. We
Mm-hmm.
have to pass the baton to the next person and the next person and the next person and really truly get in the habit of doing that. I think we get so caught up and so busy in our own lives that if someone is not directly asking me about a particular subject, then I'm
Mm-hmm.
not discussing it. So
Right, right.
I've been guilty of that. So I really
Same.
am looking at this as a challenge to get outside of that and to make it a habit to share everything that I know for this
And
very reason. So thank you for that.
absolutely. And sometimes it can be because we'll say, well, that's not my responsibility. That's not my job.
But it
Yes, it is.
is.
It's
Yeah.
all of our jobs
Yeah.
because you think about it, what you share is a seed that's being planted, right?
Yes.
Someone else will come along and water it.
Mhm.
Later on, you might see that that person that you initially said something to, you had a part in seeing their success. Now, how good
Absolutely.
would you feel about that, right?
Yeah.
But if you knew something and you held it to yourself and you didn't pass it on, I think that any person with a conscience would feel badly about not passing on that information.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. So
I-
go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to
no,
cut you
that's
off.
okay.
I was just going to say, so where can we get the information from you? Any workshops, anything that you're connected to? Where can we get that information from your
Yes.
platforms?
Absolutely. On I do things personally through Truist.
Okay.
So when I am working with any entity out there, they're usually through the Jewish Family Service Center,
Okay.
through Impact Ventures, through the Small Business Development Center, SCORA, and the DEC. And I
Okay.
primarily work with the DEC at Redbird. That
Okay.
is the Dallas Entrepreneur Center
Yes.
at Redbird. And it's phenomenal. The ladies who work there and run that, I have to give them a shout out. They do phenomenal work.
That's
And
amazing.
I love partnering with them. Yes. And the local chambers have invited me at times. So whether it's me doing it or someone else, you
Hmm.
will find as a business owner, there's a plethora of workshops always being given, whether it's with Truist or not, but I am connected to all of them and I love doing them. But what I'm starting October 15th
Okay.
are a series of workshops once a month,
Okay.
and I will host those. on Zoom, and they
Okay.
will be advertised every month through, what is it? Eventbrite.
Okay.
So if
Perfect.
anyone were to go out on Eventbrite, they will see my workshops there. They
Okay.
will be everything from predatory lending and how
Okay.
to avoid that, how
Mm-hmm.
to identify it, to understanding credit,
Mm.
understanding tax returns,
Okay.
understanding cash flow, registering a business and why it's important to separate personal and business expenses,
Very good.
and all about business banking 101. That entails almost everything. So those workshops will go on until the end of the year, straight through the end of 2022.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's going to be awesome. So definitely want to get connected and find
So,
that so that I can share that with my sphere as well.
yes, thank you, Char. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
So,
one of the things I did want to say is I have a I have a mantra that I always say, and I keep it on everything that I do
mhm,
because that's my daily activity with others, is to educate, encourage. That equals empowerment.
I love it.
If I can educate folks, if I can inform them, if they have the information that they need, and then I encourage them
Hmm.
with all of the talent that they may have, all of the resources that are available to them at
Right.
their hand,
Hmm.
they are now empowered to do what it is that they want to do. So I still believe in the power of education and encouragement, because people can have education, but if they're still feeling less than, if they
Yes.
feel that they're not qualified, if they feel that they don't have all that it takes to do something and they haven't been encouraged, they are not empowered to go out there and serve the world, serve their communities, and grow their business. So but
Absolutely.
those are the three E's. They're very important.
I love it. I love it. So that's just like connect, collaborate, and cultivate.
That's right.
And it all of that means so much, and it's something that we have to do and practice on a regular basis. And like you
Yes.
said, if you keep that before you, it's something that it's going to become even more natural to you for you to
Hmm.
do that because you know that that's your
Exactly.
mission, that's your
Yes,
passion.
it is indeed. And you have to have a
Absolutely.
mission.
Absolutely. Where is your location? Where do you bank, or where's your
I,
banking location?
since I'm the community business development officer,
Hmm.
I serve the entire Metroplex. I have a focus of branches that I work with,
Okay.
and those are located in the Oak Cliff area,
Okay.
Lancaster,
Okay.
DeSoto,
Okay.
Duncanville, over to Arlington and
Okay.
Grand Prairie. So
Very
those
good.
those are my focused areas because it's the majority minority communities.
Gotcha.
So that's the area we wanted to focus on. And let me not forget, and South Dallas.
South of Dallas. Okay. Okay.
Most
Very good.
definitely South Dallas. Yes. Now that doesn't say that I don't serve the other areas. Absolutely.
Right.
All of the Metroplex.
Hmm.
However, those are our focus areas because we want to make sure that we have our thumbprint and that we have made a difference and we've served the communities that we know are in need of those services.
Yeah. So can you share with me a success story? And I know that you've had plenty, but just share with me one success story that you've been able to help a business owner and how that made you feel. Just share with me a
Yeah,
little bit about that.
absolutely. One of the businesses that I feel so good about that my chest swells every time I think about them. There was this wonderful couple who came to see me one day and they wanted to start a business, but they didn't know how. And the husband he was an HVAC service person.
Okay.
He'd done the heating and air conditioning ventilation systems for years for a different company.
Hmm.
And he was pretty much making that company very profitable
Yeah.
with his services.
Yes.
And his wife encouraged him to come into the bank and talk about what does it take to do this. So he came in to start a business account, but they had not registered a business. and he didn't have a name. He just thought he could open a business account. So I started from scratch and I said, let's do this. I introduced them to the small business development centers to say, go through these classes first. I want you to attend these 3, and they're on a Saturday, so that works for your schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like you to go ahead and register the business. Let's do that today. And I walked them through how to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And not, since it was going to be a little bit larger than a typical home business, I wanted him to register that through the state of Texas.
Yes.
And he did.
Okay.
So he went through that. Fast forward, after they did that, and they went through a few of Miss Nancy's sit down at my desk, let's talk about this business class. I would do that to them each week when they would come in. I said, okay, where are we? And we do a checklist. The
Mm-hmm.
wife is phenomenal as a business office manager.
Mm-hmm.
She left her job to come and run his business because it took both of them to make it successful.
Right.
After we finished that, I would walk them through things as far as keeping the credit, building the credit up first.
Yes.
And I connected them to a few, and I let them interview them to decide who would you like to help you get your credit repair done and get that on the right level so that you are able to borrow and
Yes.
borrow without problem, because borrowing helps to grow the business,
Mm-hmm.
and it also helps you to feel more empowered in what you're doing, right?
Right. Right.
So they were able to do that. They were very happy once we got the credit to where it should be. And
Mm-hmm.
I said, the first thing we're going to do is get you a business credit card, because that will get you established with business. So they
Yes.
did that. They used
Yes.
it responsibly. Then after that, he was able to get a line of credit, which is not always the easiest thing, but their credit score continually went on the rise.
Mm-hmm.
After about a year and a half, that business was very successful and he had to hire people. So that line of
Nice.
credit came in handy because he
Yes.
used it to pay his payroll until his invoices were paid. So
Awesome.
meeting payroll was very important to him because he needed to keep people working for him,
Yes.
because he was getting jobs everywhere because folks knew the quality of his work. They remembered him from when he worked for his previous employer.
Right.
And it was one of those national companies. Long story short, they are still doing very well. 5 years later, they have grown so much that his team is pretty much doing the work now. And
Oh
he's more
gosh.
managing things as opposed to
Amazing.
out there. I know, huh? So they are my biggest success story. I absolutely adore them. Their little boy is like one of my grandkids, because they were my babies starting out in their
Right.
business. And I've used their success story many times to encourage others that it can be done, because
Right.
they started from scratch. They
Right.
didn't even have a business name. So it can be
Wow.
done.
Wow.
It can
That's
be done.
awesome. That's an amazing story. And I'm sure there are so many other people out there
Yeah.
that have stories similar to that they want to get started, but they don't know where to go. They don't know how to start. So I'm glad that you shared that because I think that's going to give people hope.
Yes,
Um, and then just knowing that there is education out there, there is funding out there, and all you need to do is take the proper steps to make sure that you can
absolutely.
be successful.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I'm proud of is that Truist gives funding to organizations that help small business owners, primarily business owners who are African American and people of color.
Okay.
So those organizations that support helping minority communities with their businesses through education and accelerator programs, the Truist Foundation funds some of those organizations. We are partnered with many of them across the Metroplex,
Okay.
not only here, but all across Texas and all of our footprints. So
Gotcha.
for here, we fund through sponsorship, SCORE, the SBDC, and other organizations like that. And some that I mentioned earlier, like Impact Ventures and Wings. We give money to them each year,
Okay.
along with the some of the other alternative lending resources, such as LiftFund,
Right.
PeopleFund. We also help fund some of those CDFIs. And the
Okay.
CDFIs are the alternative lending resources that are available for business owners and for consumers
Okay.
when they need the funding for whatever. So for business owners, they go to them when they don't always fit the criteria that is necessary for a bank loan.
Gotcha. Now, what does CDFI stand for?
It's the Community Development Fund, Financial and Community Development Funding Information.
Gotcha.
Institutions, I'm sorry, institutions.
Institutions. Okay. And so that's just an alternative mechanism that is used for people who may not be able to qualify for a standard business loan. Is that what that is?
Correct,
Okay.
correct. They do have their own standards. However, they're a little less strict than, of course, any financial institution's
Okay.
criteria because we're governed differently. So
Right.
banks have certain criteria that we must meet for our own audits
Right.
according to how we are standardized. CDFIs have theirs, and
Gotcha.
they are in place just to meet the needs of the community that we can't.
Gotcha. I love that. So
Yeah,
many
I do too.
opportunities out there. So I'm
There,
glad that we're able to talk about it. You and I have had private conversations about a lot of this stuff. And because of your passion and you just exude positivity. And I wanted to be sure to give you a platform. And this is not the end. We're going to find some other ways to get out there in the community, some other things to do so that we can continue to spread the word about what it is that you do. So now that we
thank
know
you,
the
Char.
business side of Miss Nancy, let's go into a little bit of personal stuff. So tell us where you're from.
I am originally from the Gulf Coast of Mississippi.
All right
I went to
now.
college at the University of Southern Mississippi, and growing up down there with the sunshine and beaches and the life there is, it's almost idyllic. So
Okay.
when we talk about our life growing up, my siblings and I know people think they have got to be making this up. No, it was
Really?
real. It was real. We had a great childhood and I loved living there. And I lived there, went to college at the University of Southern Mississippi, which was probably an hour away from home.
Okay.
So I was at school with kids I grew up with and folks who could we all talked about the same things. We were from the same areas
Mm-hmm.
primarily, and we just had a great time. And that felt good, knowing people understood where you were, as opposed to once I moved away, I was around no one that knew anything about me. And that was different.
Yeah. So you grew up in Mississippi. Tell us about your parents.
Oh, they were the most beautiful people in the world. Char, I alluded once before that sometimes I have to just stop. I do. I pause. And when I'm praying, I thank God for those two beautiful people.
Mm-hmm.
I could have been born into any family, I often say, but He gave me my mom and dad. My mom and dad had been married 57 years, beautiful years, before my father passed, and they raised us in a house of love. So when we had our family reunions, we wore t-shirts and sweatshirts that said a legacy of love,
I
because that's
love
what they were
it.
leaving with us, a legacy of love. Yes.
Yeah.
And you growing up with parents who pray for you, because when you were in college and you were away and you were a young adult, you don't always make the most intelligent choices.
Of
You
course.
know,
Of
you
course.
decide you're going to take a trip from Hattiesburg to Dallas to watch the Saints play the Cowboys. But did you tell anyone? Oh
Yeah.
no, I'm an adult now. So those kinds of things. So without having those type of loving, beautiful, fun parents, I don't know where I would be. And I came from a large family. I'm one of nine.
Oh,
There
wow.
were four girls, five boys, and it was so important for my family, my parents, for all of us to go to college, get a good education. They emphasized education. My
Mhm.
dad said that was the one thing he wanted all of his children to have, is to have a college education so that you could have a better opportunity for your future.
Right.
And he was right. It served us well. It helped you to mature in ways, and areas that I don't think we would have had we just stayed and decided to work instead of going away to college.
Yes.
So for him to sacrifice, he really, my mom and dad, my mom sacrificed a lot as well
Hmm.
to make sure that all of us had what we needed. And they encouraged us to participate in many things, even in high school, and to be involved. That was the one thing I remember, even at church. You couldn't be a pew potato. You had to get up and
The pew potato.
participate. You couldn't be a pew potato and be in that Lenoir household. You must sing in the choir and you learned piano and you were a part of the Sunday school administration and so forth. So it was just a great way to, grow up. And at first I remember we would say, why do we have to be at church all the time for whatever is happening? And my dad, my mom would say, you will thank me one day. And I thank them right now
Yes.
because it was a foundation that I would never have had it not been for them.
Right.
And it has served me in my years of raising my own family.
Right.
Yeah, I saw the quality that was there. And whether you like it or not, as I told my kids, I said, you won't understand today, but you will tomorrow. And
That's right.
tomorrow, maybe 30 years from now, but you will understand later.
That's right. That's right. Sounds like just a beautiful childhood, a beautiful family. Now, was there any entrepreneurship in your family?
Oh, God, yes. My dad had three different businesses. He had a janitorial service. He had a lawn care service, and it wasn't just some like less mowing lawns. No, he did planting. He did more of the of everything that was to do with beautification of
Okay.
lawns commercially.
Oh,
And
wow.
yes, he started with the residential, but he segued that to commercial lawn care. And he had his own car restoration service, which was phenomenal. And
Wow.
it was so great. He went back to school just to learn that trade.
Mm-hmm.
So he could restore a car from something that was completely demolished, and he would restore it fully from painting it to creating it from destroyed to a
Wow.
beautiful piece of art after. So a lot of the younger guys loved coming to talk with him and visit him to see how did he do what he did. And it was so good to see him happy in what he was doing. Yes, it was great. He owned his own equipment in doing that. So I look at how difficult that is now. It must have been for my father to get all of that equipment and use it to do the work that he was doing because I'm helping people to get that equipment today. And
Yes.
it's expensive and it takes a lot of good credit to be able to qualify for that.
Right.
So dad had his businesses and his siblings, his sister had her own business. She and her husband owned stores, delis, and a building. So they had their own real estate.
Okay.
Then my brother, self-employed attorney, my brother James has his own HR services firm. My sister
Wow.
Eva is an engineer. She's always worked for herself after she'd worked for a couple of companies early out of grad school. And then um, my sister Maria owned her own curves business. And my
Really?
baby brother Don has the most blessed. I tell him all the time, honey, God's hand is all over your work because he doesn't look for work. He has more work than he can do, and he has a large crew. He took horticulture. He went to school at the University of New Orleans and got his degree in horticulture and advanced trade training in that and certifications.
Uh-huh.
But he lives in Houston and he has a huge landscape and
Wow.
architectural design. So it's amazing that what we have been able to achieve was from the hands of my mom and dad who trusted God to just make it possible for us.
And
And
they laid a very strong foundation for you guys. Three businesses.
Mm.
from your father, and I know that your mom had to be there to support in every
She
endeavor.
was. She
Um,
was, Shauna.
what time frame was that? Because just thinking about, the
Mhm.
difficulties and what that must have been like for your dad to
Right.
have three businesses. What time frame
Exactly.
was that? What era?
So I was just a little girl. Dad started those businesses, each one probably like in 1966,
So in the
67,
60s. Wow.
in the 60s. And that's the starting time. That was when he was doing the lawn care.
Okay.
And then he started the janitorial service. And it was funny. I thought I could go and work for him after work,
Uh-huh.
after I finished my day job. And I thought that I could do like them, he and my brothers. And I'm like, I want to work with you. I want extra money.
Yes.
I think I lasted 2 weeks. I said, I don't have the energy you guys have.
Yes.
They were hardworking,
Yeah.
hardworking. Yeah.
And to be out in
And,
the sun and yeah,
well, I wanted to go do the cleaning with them at night. And
gotcha.
they had like, and to tell you, it was so telling about the integrity of my father and the trust that people had in him from the African American community, where he was definitely a leader in the
Yes.
community,
Yes.
to all over the city. My father had the largest churches in the city to clean, and the banks. He had the full contract for all of this one particular bank. They had different branches.
Right.
They cleaned all of the banks. So you have to be a very trustworthy person to be granted those types of opportunities in the
Absolutely.
60s and 70s. Okay.
Absolutely.
And the library and so forth. So he was very well respected, and we saw that. So you can remember this too, Shar, growing up. You don't bring shame on the family name.
Oh, don't I know it? Don't I know
We
it?
would laugh about that. It was like you're on your best behavior, not only because of that, but because you knew that that was the expectation, and
Right.
you loved your parents, and you knew how hard they worked to make a good life for you. So you didn't
Right.
want to hurt them.
Right.
And
Or
it was just
embarrass them in any kind of way.
embarrass them.
Mhm.
Yes, yes. So I have to say, I had it better than I realized.
That's awesome.
Sometimes you think that those things are holding you back and you're not able to do certain things. And you grow up and you learn, thank God that that restraint was there, because had that been allowed,
Right.
where would you be?
It's the hedge of protection.
Yes, it was.
Even though you don't want to acknowledge it then, you know, we
No.
we talked briefly before joining the show, and we just talked about how, those relationships with our children now, and
Yes.
how we welcome them coming to us to ask questions and things of that nature. Because
Yes.
when we were coming up, we knew it all.
Oh, yeah.
No one could tell me anything. I just thought I knew
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah. We thought that our parents were out of touch, right?
Yes.
Because they were from a different generation, and
Hmm.
you just don't understand. You're so far
Exactly.
behind. Yes, I remember saying those words that I
Yeah.
hate today. And
And
I
then
hear
our
my
kids
mother
tell
in me.
us, I
And I'm
don't know
so
where that
serious.
comes from, but it's so funny because it happens, throughout the generations where there's that feeling that you don't truly understand what I'm going through, or
Yeah,
you haven't been there.
yes.
So
Like you can
it's
live through
amazing.
this. Like,
Yeah.
yes, they did. It might have been a little different because of the era that they grew up in,
Right.
but the struggle was still the same.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yes.
But that's funny. It sounds like you had a beautiful childhood,
Yes.
beautiful parents, and that's amazing because that's not the case for everybody. So you were
No.
really, really blessed and being able to experience that in your childhood.
Hmm.
And I'm just amazed by what your father was able to accomplish. But there's no surprise when you look
Hmm.
throughout your siblings, how successful you all are because of the foundation he laid.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that is where you break generational curses. That
Yes.
is where you break, those habits and things and stereotypes and all of that is
Mhm.
when you have people before you that will lay the foundation.
That's so true. You know, I was listening to you and the word empathy came to mind
Mhm.
because what that allowed me to do was understand the struggle that came before us, before our
Yes,
time.
yes,
And when I work with business owners, I really and truly strive to listen to them with a heart of empathy for wherever they are in their process,
mhm,
wherever they are in running that business and by operations, whatever questions they have, I honestly try to listen with a heart of empathy and
right,
not be judgmental in any way, and to hear what they're trying to say or explain to me and be there with a tool, with my toolbox, as I call it, because I do have some resources. I might not have them all, but
right,
I know someone else and they might know how to
right,
add one more tool to my toolbox
mhm,
so that I can pass that on to those who are in need.
right,
And I I have to. My heart says I must
mhm,
because I know what my dad dealt with. And he was blessed to have God's favor
yes,
on him in
yes,
being successful in doing what he did. But no, it wasn't always easy.
easy, right,
Absolutely not.
right,
So knowing that and hearing the conversations, even when I was young, it has really spoken to me in my adulthood and in my job, in this role that I have,
right,
to understand where everyone is in their walk, in their business, and to listen to them in that space and in that time and be whatever I can be for them to help them for whatever needs they may have.
absolutely. And like I said, I keep saying it over and over because I really mean it. That empathy, you can see it and feel it. The passion that you have about doing what you do, you can feel it. And I think that's what's needed. That's what's needed,
Mhm.
especially when people are stepping out to take a risk. Sometimes, unlike, the story that you mentioned, where the gentleman had the experience, there's some
Mhm.
people that are stepping out to do things that they have no idea, nothing
None.
about the industry, nothing about the business, but they're stepping out and taking a risk.
That's
And to
right.
have someone like you who is so encouraging and so willing to educate
Mm.
and empower, using
Yes.
your three words there, um,
Yes.
it's just, I think it makes a difference on if they're going to be successful or not when they have
Hmm.
someone like you in their corner to kind of help lift them up, because being a business
Yes.
owner is, it's hard.
It
It's
is
difficult.
scary.
Yeah, it's
It's a little
scary.
scary.
It's easy to, work for someone else. It's easy to work a 9 to 5 and not be obligated to all the other things that come with being a business owner. It's
Hmm.
easy to settle for that, but it's so much more rewarding when you can be an entrepreneur and
It
when you
is.
can be a business owner, help the community, get out there. And I mean, it's so much more rewarding.
It is, and I love it. And Char, you mentioned it's different when people don't already have those things. Like my my customer Eric had the business that he had that skill.
Yeah.
Last year during the pandemic,
Uh-huh.
when that occurred, some people had just started their jobs before that, and because of the pandemic, they were laid off.
Yeah.
That was heartbreaking, right? My
Yes.
niece was one of those people. She's excellent at what she does.
Uh-huh.
She has her degree and a master's degree in public health,
Okay.
and she had always done safety. She's a safety expert,
Okay.
and she was doing her job and she was loving it, but because she had been recently hired, she was laid off, and she became very distraught. She felt that that was it. There was no hope. When will this end? I was working, now I'm not. I don't think I'll be able to find a job. And so one day, my heart just pounded with call her and pick her up. I helped her get her business registered, sent her straight to a BB&T, when she got the information in from the state. She felt so good. She
Yes.
went in and opened her business account. And Char, this was last year in the summer. She had worked a few little things, and in December, she landed the big one.
Did
She
she?
got, she has a contract with a company, and she is doing phenomenally well. I am so proud of her. But it's a matter
Awesome.
of hope. That's what I heard from you when you were talking. The difference is giving someone hope.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And we have to do that because as a business owner, it happens over and over. You're going to have those ups and downs. You'll
Right.
have the peaks and valleys throughout your business
Right.
because of the economy. This is how we live in this capitalistic economy.
Right.
So you have to prepare for it. And some of the workshops that I do is preparing for those down seasons.
Right.
Have you saved? Have you invested? Have you prepared for those unexpected moments?
Right.
So,
Because they're
yeah,
coming.
they're coming.
Yeah.
If you haven't been in one, you're either in a storm
Yes.
or you're headed into one or you're coming out of
Coming
one.
out.
Always. It's never going to not happen. So be prepared. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing today. I do want you to share your contact information, or
Absolutely.
how, our listeners and viewers can get a hold of you, if they have any questions. I'm happy to
Absolutely.
share as well, but if you would please just give us your contact information so that people can reach out to you directly if they have
Please
any
do.
questions.
I'm so happy to help and answer any questions. My daughter told me once I should be a school teacher because
You are a
because I love
teacher.
to share information. I am a teacher,
You
and it's
are.
been that way forever. I can't help it.
Hmm.
But my contact information is my name and Nancy St. Jacobs. It's my email address is Nancy dot S as in Sam, T as in Tom, JACOB as in boy, S as in Sam at truist.com. And that's TRUIS as in Sam, T as in Tom.com.
Perfect.
And my phone number is always available, 469 274 9851. Thank you, Char. I
Thank
appreciate you
you
allowing
so
me
much.
to
Thank
share
you
my
so much.
contact information.
Thank you for sharing. I will definitely be in touch with you about more information so that we
Yeah,
can share, in and around our communities. There is a
absolutely.
huge need, especially when you look at the pandemic. You brought the pandemic up. Um, I noticed that I've talked to a lot of people who started their own
Mhm.
businesses for the need
Mhm.
during the pandemic. And it
Yes,
kind of forced them to step out because they didn't have any other options.
that's right.
And sometimes the necessity forces us to do different things, to
That's
take those
right.
risks. And you end up getting into it and it's like, oh my God, I love this. Why didn't I do
Mhm.
this sooner?
Exactly.
Sometimes God has to push us
Yes,
into success. Unfortunately, it's not something that we always run to. But
exactly.
I am just so thankful that I met you. I met you through Tamika, who is out. Is
Mhm.
she in Atlanta?
She's in Atlanta.
So I met her through um, Atlanta. I reached out to her for some resources and she connected me to you and we immediately hit it off. I
Yes.
love your spirit. I love your willingness to share and just be a teacher and an encourager. And so I wanted to share you with everybody. So
Oh,
that is why I have you here and I cannot wait to get more information and to get into 2022 because I know we have those classes and workshops coming up. We should have packed houses. If we're
I hope
doing
so.
what you said, where we're, telling everybody we know, there's no reason why the venue shouldn't be packed.
That's
Even
right.
if it's on Zoom or if it's an in-person event, we should have a full house. So
I
really
think so.
looking forward to that education. Really, really looking forward to changing some lives.
Well, thank you, Char. And I'm just so privileged to have had this opportunity to be on chat with Chit Chat with Char
Yes, ma'am.
and share some information and hopefully help some folks who might be able to listen to this. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your platform.
Thank you so much. We're going to close our show. Thank you guys so
Okay.
much for joining us on today. We appreciate Miss Nancy St. Jacobs for everything that she has talked to us about, her encouragement, the willingness to educate, and the desire to empower. I thank you for our friendship. I thank you for our relationship, and I look forward to being able to share more information about what you're doing in our communities. Again, this is Chit Chat with Char. Our mission is to connect, collaborate, and cultivate. Thank you so much. You can check us out on Chit Chat with Char on Facebook, YouTube, and also the show is powered by The Difference, hashtag The Difference. So thank you guys so much, and you have a great day.
Thank you, Char.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.